Hello everyone, this is Anubha Gaumat, working as the Assistant Professor at IPM Group of Institutions. Today we are going to learn about business communication. The word communication is derived from the Latin communis, that means common. It is the act of sharing ideas, emotions, and feelings between two or more people. For understanding business communication, we first need to understand what communication is. Communication is basically an act where one person shares his or her ideas, his feelings, and emotions to the other people. Communication it is an essential element in the success of any business. The process of transferring information from one person to another within and outside the business environment is termed as business communication. If we do the communication and when we do the communication in the business environment, in the offices, in the meetings, in any kind of organization, then it is termed as business communication. The term business communication is derived from general communication, which is associated with business activities. In other terms, business communication between business parties or people for business related tasks is considered as business communications. Managers devote a great part of their time in the communication. Managers are someone who manages their teams, discuss the ideas, try to implement them, and then give the reports to the higher ones. They do all this by the help of communication. They spend great time on face to face or telephonic communication with superiors, subordinates, colleagues, customers, and suppliers. Not only inside the organization, but outside the organization also, managers do a lot of communication. They do that communication basically with the customers who are buying their products and also with the suppliers from whom they are going to procure the raw materials from. Managers also use written communication in the form of letters, reports, or memos wherever oral communication is not feasible. Communication is done in various forms: oral communication and written communication. Sometimes oral communication is not feasible, and you have to, as a manager, write a letter or the agreement so that it can be reached to the right audience. For that, written communication is used. Thus, we can say that effective communication is a building block of successful organization. In other words, communication acts as the organization tool. Now, there is a really good role of communication in the business. First one is motivation. Communication promotes motivation by informing and clarifying the employees about the task to be done, the manner they are performing the task, and how to improve their performance if it is not up to the mark. If a manager wants to get any work done by his subordinates, then he have to inform the task about the task to their subordinates. For that, they have to use the tool of communication. Also, after the task is done, they need to be told about the feedback of the performance. The managers have to tell about the performance of the subordinates, and for that, they again have to use the communication. Second importance of the communication is the source of information. If we are not communicating as a manager about the task, about the things that are required, about the prerequisites that are required in order to complete the task, then the team, the organizational members will never be able to understand it. So, in order to provide every single information about the task so that it can be done in a proper and the precise manner with a great um results, communication is needed to be done. The third importance of the communication is altering an individual's attitudes. Communication also plays a crucial role in altering an individual's attitudes. That is, a well informed individual will have a better attitude than a less informed individual. If, let's say, for example, you as a person is asked to make an agreement with the ABC suppliers and no other further information is being shared to you. In that case, you will get irritated since you don't know how to do it, you may not be able to do it, and also your attitude towards that work would decline. You will try to run away from that particular work. But on the other hand, if you are told Every situation related to that, if you are told what kind of agreement you have to write towards the ABC suppliers, your attitude will be positive and you will be able to provide good results. The next importance of communication is socializing. We need to talk to various people, the superiors, subordinates, suppliers, and the customers. While we are engaging in the events, in the formal and the informal activities, and the societies, we have to talk to the people. And by talking and socializing, the organization grows. For that, communication is very much important. The last one is controlling. As discussed earlier, communication also assists in controlling the process. It helps control organizational members' behaviors in various ways. Business communication is goal oriented. The rules, regulations, and policies of a company have to be communicated to people within and outside the organization. Business communication is regulated by certain rules and norms. Effective business communication helps in building goodwill of an organization. The communication in terms of business can be classified into various parts. First of all, we will talk about the two ways in which it can be differentiated or classified. First is the formal communication, which is also called as official communication, and the second one is the informal communication. Formal communication flows around the prescribed channels which all members desirous of communicating with someone are obligated to follow. Like here, for an example, the hierarchy that is used in the terms of formal communication is as shown here. The clerk, if he have anything to share, will share first to his supervisor. Then the supervisor will share the same thing to the departmental manager. And finally, the departmental manager will share it to the managing director. A clerk directly can never communicate his or her information directly to the managing director. A proper chain, a proper hierarchy must be followed. Formal communication can further be divided into two parts. It is downwards or upwards. Downward communication, it flows from superior to subordinate. A managing director communicating with the departmental heads and a foreman instructing a worker are the examples of the downward communication. It is eminently suited for those kinds of organizations in which the line of authority runs downwards. Downward communication gives specific directions about the job being entrusted to the supervisor. Other than that, it is also used to give information to the subordinates about the job so that they can understand the significance of that particular job. It is also used to coordinate the functioning of different departments, to apprise the subordinates of their performance, to tell the subordinates how their performance is going on as of now, to motivate the employees to achieve the organizational goals, to explain policies and organizational procedures. Now, there are certain limitations of downward communication as well. Sometimes under communication can happen, and sometimes over communication can happen. Because of the long hierarchy, the delay in the communication can happen, which may hamper the process. Loss of the information. Since there are lots of people involved, so there may be a loss of information while traveling the information from the higher point to the lower point. Distortion. The information may not reach to the individual as it is supposed to be. Filtering. Since there are lots of people involved, there might be filtering as per their own judgment. They will share whatever they think is more important. Predominantly one way communication. The subordinate can never share his or her views to the superior. The superior will always share his thoughts only to the subordinate, and that is why it is just a one way communication. It is built in resistance since the subordinate have no other choice to do whatever task they are being told to. That is why there will be lots of resistance while doing their work. Now, the second classification is upward communication. The communication channel which pushes the flow of information upwards, that is from the lowest hierarchy to the highest hierarchy, is called as the upward communication. Why is it important? In order to provide the feedback of what is happening in the lower management, it is important to do the upward communication. Reporting the job progress, seeking the superior's intervention for problem solving, outlet for pent up emotions, constructive suggestions. Sometimes the lower hierarchy can provide for better suggestions as they are working in the ground level. Easier introduction of new schemes, great harmony and cohesion. Channels for the upward communication. Superior keeping an open door. That means they are very open to listen to anything their subordinate has to offer. Complaints and suggestion boxes where they can put their own suggestions anonymously also. Social gatherings, informal social gatherings provided by the superior so that any information can be shared freely by the subordinates. Direct correspondence, reports, counseling, proper listening to the subordinates. Now, there are certain more limitations of the upward communication. Awe of authority. That means even if the doors are open, even if the superior is ready to listen to whatever the subordinate has to say, then also sometimes because subordinates fear the authority of the superiors, they do not allow themselves to say every single thing they are willing to say. Fear of adverse reaction. Sometimes they think that if they will tell their own honest opinion, their honest feedback, there will be adverse consequences. Distortion and filtering. Here, the distortion and filtering is way more than the downward communication. Bypassing the superiors. Sometimes the superiors are bypassed and the clerk directly goes to the managing director to share his or her opinion or any kind of troubles that they are facing in this work. Information overload. Now, what are the essentials of effective upward communication? Take initiatives to get close to the subordinate staff. The initiatives should be taken by the superiors. Keep the lines of communication short. Redress legitimate grievances promptly. Rewards for good suggestions. That's all that we are going to do today in the classification of communication. In our next class, we will discuss about other classifications and also few more classifications of the formal communication that includes horizontal and diagonal communication. Thank you so much. That's it for today.